Howdy, folks. How y'all doing today? Thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all doing okay, staying safe, staying sane. So I want to talk about something that is not in the news, and that's actually somewhat related to a situation my wife and I have been dealing with. So a couple months ago, our preacher did a sermon on basically saying that it's okay to be nosy parents. You know, it's okay to poke your nose into their room or to poke your nose into their phone or whatever. And I'm gonna, I agree with him on that, in that, you know, if you're a parent, this is from a biblical perspective, you can't know what your kid's up to, struggling with, dealing with, if you're not involved and even curious about the things that they might be trying to keep from you to a point. Well, and then from just a secular perspective, unless you're dealing with a live-at-home over 18 adult child that is out working and paying rent and paying their bills for things, you know, paying for their room, so to speak, in my opinion, they haven't earned, my oldest daughter has a cell phone. And my wife and I, we gave it to her. It's my wife's old cell phone. And my wife and I pay the... Good grief, people are amazing. I apologize about traffic, folks, but sometimes the things that people will do to get a 2-mile-an-hour advantage on speed is just astounding to me. Anyway, so my oldest daughter has that phone. My wife and I gave it to her. My wife and I pay the bill on the phone. My oldest daughter just turned 13, and so she does not have a job. She does sometimes she will do extra chores around the house for extra money from my wife or I, but it's not anything consistent, and it's just when she wants some money because she wants to go get something. Okay? So the fact that we're paying for their rooms and their phones and their TVs and all that stuff, I don't see that ultimate privacy is a thing. You know, I don't have privacy in my house. I can't leave anything I want laying out in my room, because guess what? My kids go in my room all the time. Even if it's just middle of the night waking us up, or waking us up in the morning like, hey, I'm hungry, it's time for breakfast kind of thing, whatever. They come in my room, so my wife and I, we can't leave just anything laying out in the room. So even though we pay the bills there, we don't even get privacy. But it's just something that I don't think enough parents are aware enough of what's going on with their kid. I'm trying to think here. You know what? Even though my face is on all these videos, I do use a a screen name, so I'll just go ahead and tell you. Honestly, what happened, and the reason why this is on my mind, is my wife and I found everything that we found out quite by accident. My wife has this nasty habit of leaving her cell phone places and forgetting it, so several times a week someone will have to call her phone while she's in the house, and everyone will have to be quiet so she can find it. We were getting ready to go somewhere and do something, and my wife wanted her phone before we left. We were getting ready to go out as a family, and she couldn't find it, so she asked my oldest daughter for her phone so she could call it. So my oldest daughter unlocks the screen, hands it straight to her mom. What was pulled up on the phone were some messages between her and a friend at school that were inappropriate. I will leave that to your imagination. But we'll just say that the things they were talking about were things that children of that age are not prepared to deal with the consequences of, do not have the mental capacity to make decisions of that nature. So anyway, I was trying to get everybody into the car. My wife and I'm shuffling stuff around, and like we're taking this car, and the seats were folded down. There was a couple things in the back that needed to be removed, just things like that. So I'm outside doing that, and my wife comes outside. She goes, "We are going to have to talk later about some stuff. Everything is fine. No one is hurt, but we're going to have to talk later." And that just got my mind going 1,000 miles an hour. So it's just like, it's about the kids, but I can't talk about it right now because we're getting ready to leave. Well, long and short, we ended up getting a couple minutes to talk about it and realized that we need to talk about this later, and we did, and we've had several discussions about this. We actually pulled my daughter's phone for about 2 weeks, and we are much more closely monitoring her activity online through various means and via text through various means. So, and the thing is, like, I didn't just want to say, hey, you don't do that, or if you do this, you get your phone taken away. I wanted to make sure that there was rationale, both spiritually and secularly, for why we said what we said. You do this is a distinct possibility. Here's the consequences of that long term, and I'm just giving you an example. Okay, the Bible frowns on sex outside of marriage. It says not to do that. If you have sex outside of marriage, you can get pregnant, you can get diseases, blah, blah, blah. You're not ready to be a mother. I'm not ready to be a grandparent. He's not ready to be a father. You do drugs. The Bible says to be of sober mind. So, take that with what you will. You do drugs, you could end up with addiction. You could end up doing things that you regret later in life. You could end up having all sorts of health problems because of it. That kind of thing. So we used a spiritual and secular approach on talking to her about these things. And she understands why we don't want her to do that, why it's a good idea if she doesn't do what she was doing. So, but that's kind of what I got for today, is just don't be afraid to be a nosy parent. I remember we got talking about this. It was my wife, her brother-in-law, and we got standing outside just talking about, raising kids. And yeah, well, I got a girl fixing to be a teenager, or it's a young teenager, and just the problems that you have with that, and good grief, I know how I was. So, and we got talking about like all the things that we did that our parents never knew about. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was not a bad kid as a teenager. I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I didn't get arrested, but I've got hours worth of stories of me doing stupid things behind the steering wheel of a car, but I didn't wreck because of it, I didn't get hurt because of it, no one else got hurt because of it, and I didn't get caught. And my parents only knew a small percentage of what I ever did behind the wheel of a vehicle. My wife got away with quite a bit, but she also got caught at quite a bit just because of the amount that she did growing up. And so, like, I think the rule of thumb, or what we had kind of figured out, is our parents knew some of the things that we did and knew the general type of shenanigans we got into, but they didn't know everything. My mother's head would explode if she knew all the shenanigans I got into as a kid and young adult. So, just don't be afraid to be nosy parents. When my kids get driving age, the end goal for me, long term, well, not end goal, but a long-term goal that I have, is the little car that I've got that's in the shop right now. If it is on the road when my oldest kids start driving on their own, one of the features that it's got, it's a governor where you can say the car will not go over this speed, and then you can set warnings and seatbelt alarms where the radio won't work, and just stuff that's, you can set certain things where it's annoying to teenagers, and then you can also limit the top speed of the vehicle. Believe me, that will happen. And I can get away with that because there's no roads that my kids will need to drive where they will need to exceed a reasonable speed. If they're going to the high school that's in our district, they can drive to school, and they could drive to basically any job that they would get in that area and never have to go over 55. And if that's the case, that car's getting its governor set at 55. And even though it's a little tiny 3-cylinder car, it will exceed any posted speed limit I've come across by a measure of felony. Found that out in Mexico. Just takes it a while to do it, but it will. Basic gist of the story there is one of the downsides to living out in the country is the ambulance service is not quick, and so in a lot of cases it's faster to, like, so long as you don't need life support, it's actually faster to drive yourself to the ER. There was one time my mother got swarmed by yellow jackets. And so my little 1-liter became an ambulance because she was in severe pain, and my sister-in-law is a paramedic, and she said even though she's not having a reaction now, you need to get her someplace rapidly. And so we jumped in the car and we were flying down little 2-lane roads. So, but yeah, they're gonna have a car with a strict governor on it, and I might go over it. But my dad, it was funny, none of these features were available to my dad. Like, I had a dumb phone when I was a kid. My first vehicle was a 97, but he was sharp because he had bought my truck right after I got my full license, But then he went and did a bunch of stuff to it. Wasn't expensive stuff, but he had bought a truck that there was exactly one of in that county. There was a ton that were similar, but there was exactly one of my specific truck. It had a diamond plate stainless toolbox in the bed. It had chrome bumper guard. It had chrome running boards. It had chrome bed rails. It had a bald eagle decal all over the back window. And so there was exactly one of those trucks. And all of his buddies that lived in that area knew exactly what that truck looked like. So I'd always he'd always come up to me at random and say, "Hey, I got a spy report on you today. They said you look like you know what you're doing." Well, that's good, I guess. "Hey, I got a spy report on you today. They said you were doing good, but you went past them going a little quick." "Hey, I got a spy report," just constantly. So it takes a village sometimes, and back then that's what it took, because he wasn't going to put GPS on the truck, because that wasn't a cheap thing to do in the early to mid 2000s. But anyway, be nosy parents, stay involved with your kids, keep up with what they're up to. You'll be able to help them, even if they're up to nothing. Just the things that are on their mind, the fact that you have likely earned a couple gray hairs, wisdom does come with that. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. Catch y'all next time.